We're going to do one mock here on the PFF site that I'm going to run with a trade back scenario. And then I'm going to do a mock that's going to be a straight up mock over on the PFN, because there's almost like religious contingents on each side of this, where the PFN folks are like, you got to run the mock on the PFN, bro. And then the PFF are like, no, the PFF stuff's updated. The PFN doesn't get updated very often, so you got to really roll with the PFF. And then it just goes back and forth. It's an eternal battle. Let's kick this off without any further ado. I don't want to waste any time. And we're going to look here at the PFF mock situation that's going on. And I wanted to just take it to where it's kind of dropped right in so we can get going. We're not going to trade up in this draft. I think that that's pretty obvious. What they've got, the guys they've got going up at the top of this draft, I think are pretty fair as far as about the right names. Whether or not you want to have a problem with the order of it or not, I think that that's also fair. A couple guys that stand out that I'm not sure they're going to go up this high would be a James Pierce or a Mike Green. I think everyone else has a real good potential of going up into this kind of high section of the draft, quite honestly. So this was, I thought, a pretty realistic encompassing of who should go there, absent again of Pierce. But again, I wasn't too worried about this one because we are going to be looking to trade back. So let's go back to 25. Let's move back into a functional place. So I want to get back a second round pick in this trade back scenario. We're not going to get it done there with that. We got to throw a little bit more on top. So let's toss a fourth round pick in addition. So our 18 to 25, a fourth round back to them. We go back to 25 and we pick up 57. A late second round pick. Houston Texans accept it. This is only really going to be the only trade back that I really do in this draft. So this takes us back into the first round at 25. And these are the names we've got available on our board. Matthew Golden, Dick Scorton, Tyleek Williams, kind of basically a nose tackle who can do some 3-tech stuff. I think kind of, like along the lines of a little bit like a Jaron Reed, a little bit more nose tacklish. I think what he's going to offer here at the pro level. So you have a couple of wide receivers in Golden, Ellick, Ayamanor, bigger kid out of Stanford. Walter Nolan, that's another 3-tech. TJ Sanders, a guy a lot of people like as well, is also a kind of more into that inside role. I think Jihad Campbell is your best inside linebacker in this draft. So potentially, I think that if this was one where there was no Ernest Jones, I think that there'd be a real chance here that Jihad Campbell would be the pick. And so I'd probably preface that a little bit depending on how all this could go. So we've got it kind of down the line here. As you guys can see, I think Arante Arce is going to go way up the boards here after his post-Senior Bowl performance. So that's definitely not to be taken, that's taking a grain of salt, I think, there on that one. So we're sitting here at the top. We've got a little bit of a conundrum here on this. I'm not a fan of Connerly, not a big fan of any of these guys down through here. I mean, that I look at them all. Most of what's here on the board is more second round talents down the line. Nolan's probably a little bit on the edge, and a lot of people love Nolan, but I just don't know if I want to go back to 3-tech again. We already got a log jam there with Byron Murphy. I know there's an argument to be made about pure value, but I don't know if I don't like Campbell better as a inside linebacker than I would like, Walter Nolan as a, third guy in the depth chart here over on that other side. So kind of a tough pick if you do trade back here as far as some of the selections and options, a couple of receivers down here. And I know Wyatt Milliam is a guy that I think is also going to dip a little bit further down than where he's at right now. So I'm looking at some of these tackles. For instance, the tackle converts, as I'm approaching this a little bit and going well, I can find a couple guys. Booker's still going to be, of course, on the board. But these guys, Milliam's a guard, Zabel's a guard, Arance is going to go into it, probably become a guard at the next level. So I've got still a couple of guards on the board. I don't have to be impelled to necessarily reach on that. Barron's more of a slot guy, a bit of redundancy there with what you've got already in Devin Witherspoon. So a bit of a pickle here. Amos, good player. I've got him, though, as another of a second round graded guy. So I'm very much driven to the two guys here for me that I go to as B. Campbell and Zabel as far as the value here on the board goes, because and then I come back to, I got some other guys offensive line wise that I can get down here later too. I don't have to jump on this right now necessarily. I've got the 2 second round picks. So part of having that is to stay to kind of the value of the board. I like Scorton. Again, there's a couple of edges here that I do like quite a bit, that there's a draw here to maybe just grab that and take it and go, especially with where you're picking right now. But I think I'm going to just trust in Jihad Campbell on this one. Come back around here into the second round. This is where now probably looking a little bit more here to this. I like Arance more than I like Booker at this point because he gives you, I think, some right tackle flexibility. So we go back with Arance. I know I didn't go through a lot of the options there, but that was, you're going back to getting to me. I'm going to hammer a little bit of offensive line here in this one, if there's the value there on the board to do it. Now, here's where we're going to come back away from the line play for me. And I've run this scenario a few times, why I'm going to go a little bit, not belabored through this. So we've got Arance, who I think can transition into becoming your inside left guard. You've got Booker here, so you could hit it from a redundancy angle right now. But I really like this kid more and more that I watch him, and that's Jack Besh. He's got a couple of different things that he brings to the table as a late second round guy. Looking at the wide receivers we have here available, there's Bond. I'm not as big on Bond as other people are. Tez Johnson's good, but he's really slight. I know he's tearing it up right now in Senior Bowl. But Besh is a guy that I think has a lot of similarity to a Cooper Kupp, and he brings contested catch and he brings yak ability. Two things in dire need of this receiving core. I think you can use him on the outside to an X, not an X, but a Z roll. He can do a little bit of inside stuff when you want to kick him in there too. But I'm going with Jack as my guy here, as I think we're going to need some wide receiver help within this draft as well. So far our picks are as follows. Campbell in the first round, come back with Ursay. Second round, Besh. Another second round pick. We come back into the third round. This is where I would probably see if there's some value there offensive line wise. You have also Will Howard there in the third round, which is a bit of a draw. Derek Harmon's a 3 tech. Like him a lot. This would be good value. Josiah Stewart's about a 6'1" edge, so he's a little bit of an undersized edge guy, but he's stout. He had a great year. Michigan connections there, so there's maybe a little bit of value there. And I know Emawari is another guy that a lot of people like here as far as I'm sure for the third round where he stands. So some good picks to be had here. I'm going to go back into the trenches though here, and I'm going to go with Donovan Jackson in the third round. As this is now, I've got hopefully that Ursay can transition into left guard. If he can, I have Donovan Jackson. If my right guard situation is not right with Bradford, I don't know if Seahawks have done anything in free agency. I'd be anticipating in this draft a little bit that John Schneider's approached free agency with the line the same he has ever. And so that means it's about hammering the line then in the draft, because you don't think that there's going to be that free agent fill-in necessarily. I know we'd like to see it, but this is about getting this right this offseason, and part of that's going to be making this a bit of the centerpiece of the draft approach. All right, so we're back here now into the fifth round. Take a look through our options here. We've got Jay Higgins inside linebacker, but we of course are already good there. And in the spirit of continuing to knuckle down and spirit of staying in value, Seahawks have a need here at center. And I like Jake Majors quite a bit. Back here now to the sixth round. Oh, look at that. I don't think Jackson Dart's last into the sixth round. So this is where I can be completely unrealistic with the drafts and grab whoever here. But I think I would grab Dart if he's obviously in the sixth round, but I want to kind of keep this realistic if I can, more to guys that are truly available or not available. I'm trying to anticipate a little bit of the moves the Hawks would be making here, so I won't go for him. He would be my pick here, but I just think that they're going to bump him up into more third round range when it's all said and done. So if he was here, I would select him. But I'm going to go with Hunter Wohler, a guy that I've got a fourth round grade on as a safety here. Come back around again here now. So we've got a sixth, and a seventh. So we've got 3 picks still here left. And some interesting players on the board. Again, I know Dart's there. So I think we're going to lose probably Jaron Reed this offseason. Ty Robinson's an interesting guy here for me as a pick. Being that he can provide he is 3 tech, but he can maybe give you a little bit of some nose at times. He can kind of be moved around a little bit. Kind of looking through some of these names, what we got. So we've taken 1 receiver. All these are moves. This draft, by the way, is in anticipation that you're going to remain and keep DK Metcalf and Geno Smith. Obviously, I think if we're moving off those guys, there's going to be a little bit of a different move from me on how I would run this draft just a little bit. So we've got Ty Robinson's looking pretty good. We've got some safeties here as well. Luke Lachey as the tight end option. We need a couple tight ends too here, potentially, depending on what we do this offseason. If we let go of Fan, really kind of hope that we were going to have maybe more of a blocking tight end at this point, like Jackson Hawes that we can go to. So not the worst way to go there. I do think that we're going to be losing our guy, Jaron Reed, so we'll go with Ty Robinson. All right. Boy, Samuel Brown, this drops this far, I'd have to jump on him, I think. That's another one of trying to keep this realistic if I can, but that would be probably my pick. I think he's going much higher than where he's at here, though. It's one of the places the draft hasn't quite caught up, in my opinion, on their approach with it. So I'm not going to jump on him here yet. Rocket Sanders, running back, disappointing last year in college, but he's had a productive college year. Hancock, we already grabbed a safety. We're backup kind of safety. I think the guy we'll go with here is going to be the guy I like for a while, Jabbar Muhammad. Let's get the cornerback position addressed. And then finally here, that's an easy peasy one. We didn't get a chance to address that through the draft. I don't know if he'll fall that far. If he does, thank goodness. I don't think he gives you a lot as a pass rusher necessarily, but Nazir Stackhouse is there in the 7th round. I think you're all over it. So Dropped back in the first round, got Campbell. This would be anticipation of if you don't sign Ernest Jones. Obviously, if I didn't sign Ernest Jones, we'll look at a little bit of a different approach on the next draft, maybe if that's the case on that. That's why I want to run 2 draft scenarios here. But the value-wise, it was too good. I think he's the best linebacker in the draft. I think he's a sub-first rounder. Very, very close to the kid out of Texas A&M last year, and I think an ability level. RSA, no-brainer, can play some tackle, can play some guard. I also went back in the third round. Donovan Jackson can play some tackle, can play some guard. So you get a lot of versatility to your line along with a talent upgrade. Let me speak right. Jack Besh becomes the replacement for Tyler Lockett. He gives you yak. He gives you stuff that's going to fit into what you need in this offense. Contested catchability. Also a little bit of a bigger receiver at 6'2". So I think he'll be a very good blocker in this league. Jake, not overwhelmed, but just he'll be good in that respect as well. Jake Majors, 4th round grade I have on him right now as a center. So to get him in the 5th is good for me there. Center, Hunter Wooler, another 4th round grade guy we got in the 6th. Ty Robinson, Jabbar Muhammad, Nazir Stackhouse, rounding out a bit of the roster with some guys that I think can really be useful players here. Jabbar Muhammad, been watching him since his UW days. He didn't light the world on fire with Oregon, but he was solid this year. And I think he's a very capable corner, and I think he's going to come in there and get some snaps for somebody in this league as a starter. If you get that in the 6th round, I think that'd be tremendous value. All right, let's roll the PFN. So this is one I know many people prefer this one as opposed to the other ones. So let's go over here and we'll go with this 7th round. No trade backs in this one now. Okay. So we're just going to do a solo draft run here. Make sure you guys can see okay. Looks like you guys can. So good. All right. We're not trading on this one. We did that in the last one. We got Kelvin Books. They've got Tyler Booker up a little bit higher. Morrison, Golden, Harmon. So they've got some players up that were in the 2nd round, more up into the 1st round in this scenario of things. I will lean a little bit more probably on value based on the board here as I can. I definitely am drawn to Calvin Banks here. I think he gives you some of that right tackle guard flexibility if you're going to pick him here. I think Kenneth Grant, down from Michigan, as a nose tackle, is the best nose tackle in this draft, is also a very interesting pick here. So I'm pulled a couple different ways, but let's trust the value of our board here and go with Kelvin Banks to start this off. This is anticipation on this draft as if they did sign Ernest Jones. All right, so that's a good key for me to say because they've got Campbell right here still in the 2nd. We come back now after taking Banks, and we've got more interesting choices here. Donovan Jackson we took last time. We got a Jackson Dart here in the 2nd round. I think that's a little bit early to be taking him there. A little bit early. Savion Williams. I know a lot of you guys might like him. I think he's more slot gadget guy, though, than he is a true blue Z receiver or a true blue X. He might prove me wrong on that, but I'd have some worries there. So a lot of value already kind of off the board as we're getting here into the 2nd round. I'm not liking a lot of these names we're looking at. We address the offensive line with the 1st pick. I'm not JT Tuimoloau, not as big on him. Deion Walker is underwhelming tape. Looks like Tarzan, plays like Jane. Maxwell Harrison's an interesting kid here. As a cornerback in the 2nd round is a possibility. I have a feeling we're going to be moving on from Uchenna Nwosu, and so there's going to be a bit of a need for edge here. And the guy that I have just dropped to the 2nd round, but I like him a little bit. Boy, I'm torn between right now Donovan and Kyle Kennard, both 2 guys I like a lot, but we're going Kyle Kennard. I think that guy looks like Danielle Hunter. I know he's only got the 1 year of 11 sack production this year, but he looks like the real deal to me. Okay, so first 2 picks, we've gone for offensive line, edge, coming back now here into the 3rd round. We've got to be careful with this pick. Mason Taylor to me is a really potential fine pick here. I like him a lot as I think a high 3rd round grade on him, so the value would be pretty good there with that. We got Gunnar Helm, who's right there neck and neck with him. I know a lot of you are going to want to talk about Elijah Araujo, who's having a great Senior Bowl right now. DJ Gideons is one of my favorite running backs. We can't go there, obviously, with it. Shamar Turner's a guy some people are going to like a lot. I'm not as big on him. So 3rd round on this one. We've addressed the edge, we offensive line. We don't have any pick that's like smashing us in the face that's saying this is the one we got to go with. So when I look below what we got option-wise here, and I look about the year that we know that John's going to eventually want to try to target a quarterback, you got Quinn Ewers, we've got Will Howard. I'm more of a Will Howard guy at this point. Can't find myself drawn to any of these guys above, feeling like they're so smashingly better if these were the options available to you, to think that you wouldn't go quarterback here. And I'm not seeing anything down below either on these guys that are jumping out that's some guy that you're missing out hugely on for the potential with the guy with Howard. They might be able to find a guy that's workable for you. So go Will Howard here with the 3rd round pick. Long wait there to come back around. All right, Terrace Ferguson, tight end. Ricky White, wide receiver. Jordan Birch, interesting edge / maybe a little 3 tech at the next level. I don't think I'm going to go that route with it. Got some tough choices here. is some of these guys you're familiar with. Smart, Smail Mondon could be kind of fun there at that spot. Jeffrey Bassa, interesting player in there. I have Mello Dotson. I think I have Mello Dotson up pretty high. Yeah, you know what I'm going with here? We're going to go with our cornerback. Mello Dotson, baby. All right, coming back now here in the 5th round. Boy, the line help is pittered away here on this one. And that's where I think I'm going to go back here. Ooh, okay. So looking at our other guard options here at this point, it's not exactly the best. But what we do have is we actually have a pretty good center option here in Seth McLaughlin. Had a major injury this year, but he was looking like the best center in this class before he went down. You're in the 5th round at this point, just outside of Jackson Haas, which is kind of a draw as well here to go back and get your blocking tight end. There's definitely a little bit of a pull there, but we want to invest in the offensive line. Here's a move kind of a bit even for the future. Or even if you're making the move with Oluwatimi and Haynes there, you've got yourself set up a little bit into the long term. Back to 6th round pick. Well, I've got that 4th round grade on Hunter Wohler. Again, he's a guy that I definitely would be jumping on. We kind of took him in the last draft, so that kind of feels like cheating. But to get him down this far ain't too bad. We could use a nose tackle here in JJ Pigwes. Ooh, Jackson Haas. There we go. Bam. Done and done. Do I go with Famrin? All my Huskies want me to take Famrin. I'm not taking no Famrin. I got all the Husky honks in here going, Famrin. All right, last pick of the draft here. Gone offensive line, edge, quarterback, cornerback, center. Maybe the best blocking tight end in this draft. Let's, Jamon Johnson maybe. That's kind of an interesting one there. There's another one that we already got the edge there. It's going to be a deep edge class, folks. There'll be some edges deep into the draft that you can probably pluck from just because there's so many of them. It may not be stacked tall, but they're good. So what we're going to do is we're going to go back to actually the cornerback here. We do need that. Do we need... It's where you want to trust your board. So Riley Mills, Notre Dame 3-tech. This again would be sort of the replacement a bit. You have Byron Murphy steps in, but you're still going to have another need for kind of a, in-between guy that can do a little bit of both stuff. Mills is a guy I'm drawn to here a little bit, but then also Jacob, where's my cornerback here? There we are. Jacob Parrish is another one that I'm kind of toying with here a little bit. I do have a 4th round grade on him, and then you could double down. Jamon Dumas Johnson's okay. He's a possibility here too. So I'm driven in a couple different ways here with this. Just gotta trust your board. My value is higher on Parrish. Let's get the cornerback room fixed. The Maya Pritchett didn't show us anything last year, and we might be losing Wool in this offseason. So then we come back, we got Mills still there, so I feel good about that. Deion Burks, didn't he go back? I thought he went back to school. I remember looking at him, but I remember thinking he was heading back to school. And then there's Jamon. Kind of need some linebacker help, don't you? And Jamon in the 6th round is interesting. So, but I gotta go with Mills, man. It's too good a value there. And then we got Jamon there. So we come right back and get the value there with Jamon. Some edges you can end up taking later in some of this draft scenario and how it's set up. But there's not a lot of names here that are a lot of sliders they've had in this draft. Most of the guys are off the board at this point. We'll come back, get some inside linebacker help. I'll let that finish up there. So 1st round, we took Banks, a guy that's played tackle at Texas. I think he's going to be a left guard at the next level. Kyle Kennard, a guy that I think can be outlooked as a guy that could be a potential Daniil Hunter type kind of body movement way, length to him. I might just like this guy more than other people do, but I really do like him, especially in the 2nd round. Will Howard in the 3rd. Then we got Mello Dotson, corner that I've got a 4th round grade on, so I'm happy to take him there. Seth McLaughlin, another guy, 4th round grade. I think the value on this is where I'm really leaning to in this draft. So even if you move Haynes in this year with Oluwatimi is really only going to potentially be there for a year, / maybe you have an upgrade over Oluwatimi and McLaughlin, / you may have a guy that's better than Haynes if he slides into that place. So a guy that gives you really some true upside there for the position long term. Jackson Haas is a functional pass catcher. Pretty athletic, actually, after the catch for how big he is, but really good blocker. Grade A blocker, especially on the move. The guy's just a complete sniper when it comes to pulling back across the scheme, pulling out in front. He can do all of that type of stuff and do it really well. Jacob Parrish gives you a little bit of a double dip at the corner position. I think that you're going to not be able to trust Nehemiah Pritchett long term. Artie Burns going to be gone. I think Woolen's potentially going to be moved this offseason. I don't think the plan is going to be moving Devin Witherspoon to the outside corner, so you're going to have to address this a little bit. Riley Mills, just a fun player to watch. much. He's a brute in there. You know, he's just going to bang around and give you everything. He's got every snap. Reminds me a lot of at times of Braden Fisk, a little bit better of a run defender than Braden Fisk, not quite as agile, not quite as, you know, explosive maybe as Braden was and how he tested, but still a very fun player. And then Jamon Dumons Johnson, you sign Ernest Jones in my scenario here, you're just trying to get some depth and lean on that. So those are my draft scenarios. Let me know what you guys think.